All right, let's go ahead and start chapter 10 of Amari and the Night Brothers. I sit in a cold room at the end of a long wooden table. After I was rushed off stage by Chief Crow, she instructed two ladies in gray suits to bring me to a door marked conference room. What happened back there? How could my talent be magic? I couldn't even pull off the simplest stuff in the magic tricks for beginners playset I got for Christmas that one time. I didn't even know that real magic existed until just recently. I cover my face with my hands. If having magic makes me a magician and magicians are the enemies of the supernatural world, like Elsie suggested, then what's going to happen to me now? Raised voices and hurried steps echo in the hallway. Heart pounding, I sit up straighter in my chair. The door to the conference room swings open and half a dozen adults rush in. I only recognize Chief Crow, who dashes over and grabs me by both shoulders. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" I nod. "What happened back there?" "That's what we're trying to determine," says Chief Crow. "But to do so, we'll need to conduct a very important test. Do we have your permission?" I swallow and nod again. From the worried looks on everyone's faces, it's probably the only answer they'd accept. Chief Crow backs away. "Dr. Khan, if you wouldn't mind." "Certainly," replies a jittery South Asian man in a long white lab coat. He steps forward to place a square piece of metal on the floor in front of my chair. The little screen near the top makes it look like a scale. Why would they need to check my weight? "Remove your shoes and socks, please. You'll need to stand on it with your bare feet for the magic meter to work properly." Magic meter? Maybe there really was a glitch with the crystal ball, and this will prove that whatever happened back there was a mistake. It had to be. The grown-ups all stare expectantly, especially a tall, stern-faced white guy who keeps pacing back and forth near the door. I pull off my shoes and socks and get to my feet. Then I take a slow, deep breath and step onto the magic meter. Numbers rise and fall on the little screen until finally it settles on 97%. A second later, it creeps up to 98%, then 99%, and finally 100%. Dr. Khan gasps, "Every drop of this girl's blood is magical." The adults rush to huddle near the door. Dr. Khan just stares at me, eyes wide, so I ask, "What does that mean?" "It means you're perhaps the most magical being there's ever existed." Dr. Khan lowers his eyes and frowns. "It also means your very existence is a crime." A crime? But I haven't done anything. The Bureau uses magical objects, don't they? So magic can't be all that bad. "The Bureau isn't against objects being too magical," Dr. Khan replies. "It's against people being too magical. There's a big difference, I'm afraid." Chief Crow is back in front of me. "Amari, we're going to ask you some questions. It's important that you be completely honest with us, understand?" But I've got my own questions. How did I get magic? "It was my hope that you might tell us," says the stern-faced man. He crosses his arms, turning up his nose like he can't stand the sight of me. His golden name tag reveals Director Van Helsing, Department of Supernatural Investigations. He must be Maria's and the Van Helsing twins' dad. My heart thumps faster. "I don't know," I say. "I touch the crystal ball like everyone else." Director Van Helsing bangs his fist on the table so hard it makes everyone in the room jump. "The fourth law created by the supernatural world Congress states quite clearly that humans may receive magic from only one source, the crystal ball, a single 10% dose that gives us our supernatural abilities. Yet you have come to the Bureau with an overabundance of magic from an unknown source. Where did you get it?" "I don't know," I say. "It's got to be a mistake." "Tell the truth," he says. "I am," I shout back, trembling. Director Van Helsing won't let up. "You expect us to believe that you possess the highest magicality we've ever tested by mere chance?" "No, yes, I'm shaking so much I don't even know what I'm saying." "And I suppose we're also to believe it's a coincidence," Director Van Helsing continues, "that you showed up here at the same time hybrids are terrorizing our outposts around the country? It is common knowledge that only magicians can create hybrids. Tell me, girl, are these attacks your doing?" "I don't know anything about that." I shrink back in my chair. "I swear." "Then perhaps," Director Van Helsing interrupts, "you could simply tell us which other magician is responsible." The door swings open again and Agent Magnus steps through. "I'm here to speak on the kid's behalf." A tall lady with fiery red hair and a long ponytail hovers in the doorway behind him. Director Van Helsing frowns. This is a director-level meeting. Magnus rolls his eyes. Like I care a lick about that. For the last time, you are not above the rules, Agent Magnus. He looks to the chief, but she just waves him off. This is no time for you to quarrel, snaps Chief Crow. Let Magnus in. He was close to the girl's brother and might know something that could shed some light on how on earth Quentin's little sister is, of all the things in the world, a magician. She nods to the lady in the doorway. Agent Fiona, I think we'd all feel a lot better if you could put that ability of yours to use and reveal the girl's intentions. The red-haired lady nods and steps forward. She may not be a director like the other adults, but they all move aside for her. No need to be frightened, lass, she says softly. If you'll allow it, I'm going to check out your intentions for being here. You'll feel yourself go still for a bit, but that's the worst of it. If you've truly got nothing to hide, says Director Van Helsing, crossing his arms, then you'll have no objections to our proving it. Again, I don't have much of a choice. If I refuse, then they'll just assume the worst. I meet Agent Fiona's eyes. Okay. The room goes quiet as Agent Fiona puts herself right in front of me. Her fierce blue eyes widen and my whole body goes stiff. I try to look away, but my neck refuses to turn. My eyes are stuck on hers. I can't even close them. I'm totally helpless. I fight down my fear as best I can. It's not until she finally blinks that I can move again. She cracks a smile. Her intentions might as well be in big neon letters across her forehead, so they're easy to read. She's an honest little thing, on the surface. The last means to bolt for the door if she's not treated fairly in this meeting. Second, and most importantly, she's come to the Bureau to discover what happened to her brother and bring him home if she can. There's nothing dangerous in her intentions, as far as I can tell. I blink in surprise as the adults in the room exchange glances. Did that lady just read my mind? Normally, I'd put complete faith in your ability, Fiona, says Director Van Helsing, but magicians are known for their deception. It's true, I say. I just want to find Quentin. Do you imagine there's something you could be doing better? Director Van Helsing scoffs. My best agents were on that search. Magnus led the investigation himself. Agent Magnus looks at me with wide, sad eyes. With the investigation being classified, the most I can say is we're currently out of leads. Chief Crow's tense expression relaxes a little. We're all sorry about Quentin, and I'm quite relieved to hear that Amari means us no harm. I've got the utmost faith in Agent Fiona's ability, but there's still the troubling matter of how the girl became a magician. It's been more than 2 centuries since the last rogue magician emerged, and he quite famously blew himself up. Does the how even matter? Drones a pale, thin man. His name tag reads Director Crypt, Department of the Dead. The Bureau has had one policy for dealing with magicians for over 7 centuries. Lock them up and throw away the key. A few of the other directors nod in agreement. A serious lady in thick black glasses even suggests I be taken to her lab and studied. Director Focus, Department of Magical Science, is sewn onto her lab coat. Over my dead body, Magnus replies, and mine too, I think. The red-haired lady moves to Magnus's side, leveling a withering stare at the direction who want me locked up. She and Magnus must be partners. Please, everyone just calm down, says Chief Crow. What we need right now is a thoughtful discussion about how best to proceed. Can I start by acknowledging that the kid's supernatural ability didn't pop up as evilness or spite, says Magnus, so let's stop treating her like she did something wrong. And yet we've all heard the terrible stories, haven't we, says Director Cobblepot of the Department of Supernatural Licenses and Records. There's no such thing as a good magician. Let's not forget how close we came to canceling the training sessions this summer on account of those hybrid attacks. More shouting follows. Chief Crow closes her eyes and shakes her head. Someone clears their throat loudly, quieting the room. If I might have a word on the matter, says a gentlemanly voice. I look around to see who's talking, but no one's lips are moving. That's when Director Crypt opens his suit jacket and places the head of an elderly brown man with a gray handlebar mustache gently onto the table. It takes my brain a few seconds to catch up to what my eyes are seeing, and when it does, I jump in my seat. Where's the rest of you? The words come out before I can stop myself. But the man isn't offended, back in my office taking a most restful nap. What began as flexibility became detachability once I touched the crystal ball, those many years ago. He winks at me. Now then, as director of the unexplained, I believe the great many unanswerable questions surrounding young Amari here mean that she falls squarely under my jurisdiction. I glance over at Magnus. He doesn't seem to like my being considered unexplained any more than I do. And what would you have us do? Asked Chief Crow. When faced with a mystery, one must first determine if said mystery presents a danger. We've established that the girl means us no immediate harm. The next step, then, is not to project our own prejudices onto the mystery, but rather to allow the mystery to reveal itself to us in its own time. Which is to say that I believe we should allow the girl to stay if she wants to. She'd be monitored, of course, but discreetly. Also, it may be prudent to explain to her exactly why being a magician has caused such a commotion. All eyes turn to me. That really would be helpful, I say. Allow me, says Chief Crow. In ancient times, long before the Bureau existed, there wasn't the separation between the known world and the supernatural world that exists now. Humans lived right alongside supernaturals, and those supernaturals performed magic right out in the open. The thing was, with all the free-flowing magic that existed in the world, humanity had none of it, not a single drop, until the Knight brothers, Sergei Vladimir and Raoul Moreau. No one knows how the two of them obtained magic, just that they weren't satisfied with the 35% magicality of a common elf, or even the 50% magicality of a woodland hag. They gave themselves more power than any single being has a right to possess. It's said that they could perform seemingly impossible feats. We know for a fact that they conquered old age and death with a spell called Vampire, which requires consuming the blood of innocents. I shudder. Vampires? I just wish we had more information, Chief Crow frowns. If Horace were here, he could peek into the girl's history, maybe discover how the magic was passed to her. She turns to Director Van Helsing. I trust he's still away on sabbatical in the Wandering Isles? Afraid so, says Director Van Helsing. The Isles were last seen just off the coast of Africa, but that was days ago. They could be anywhere in the world by now. Can we summon one of his underlings from the Department of Good Fortunes and Bad Omens to give us some advice on the matter? Asked Director Forkis. The chief shakes her head. I'd rather have Horace himself on something this important. Is this really a risk we're willing to take? Asked Director Van Helsing, throwing up his arms. That she might not be so bad because her brother is a hero? Is it not the right height of recklessness to allow a magician to roam freely inside the Bureau while there are still so many unanswered questions? And just what do you suggest? Growls Magnus. Lock her up for something she can't help? Fiona's already proven the girl isn't up to anything nefarious. Or perhaps she's been prepped to fool Fiona's supernatural ability, answers Director Van Helsing. At the very least, we ought to erase the girl's memories of the supernatural world, erase her memories of being a magician, and then send her home to be carefully watched. She'd go back to being just an ordinary girl and no danger to the Bureau or the supernatural world. No, I say, jumping to my feet. You can't erase my memories. If you do, I'll never be able to find my brother. Let me stay. I'll prove that I'm just like any other trainee, please. Director Van Helsing starts to say something more, but Chief Crow asks for quiet. We all watch her pace back and forth a few times. Finally, she comes to a stop right next to me. I can see benefits to both requests, but let's not forget it was Quentin himself who nominated her. There is not a person in this room who would question his judgment were he standing here. And so, we shall give you the benefit of the doubt, Miss Peters, but understand that you'll be on the shortest possible leash. I won't compromise the safety of the Bureau. Understand? A wave of relief and then nervousness rushes through me. I understand. Good, she replies. Prove that we're right to trust you. Prove you belong here.